went out and I sold him a 78 or 79 Toyota Corolla, dead stock with a dead cylinder, and he proceeded to learn how to drift that. It completely stock, dead cylinder, no suspension, open diff. Like, he proceeded to get to a point where he could get around like light poles and stuff with it. And I was like, wow, you're like, I've got coilovers on my car and you don't, and you're doing better than me. We should try this tandem thing out. Well, the problem was we never had a car running at the same time, so we would go to like a Friday night meet with my car, and we would both just trade off in my car and drive around. Yeah. And do that. And we went to we went to an event or two about 2 hours away, a little shitty track that doesn't exist anymore, but it was, someone just trying their best, and there's nothing wrong with that. And he got more interested, but the Corolla was obviously a piece of shit, and so he was like, well, I need to have something a little better. Can I do it with my Camaro? And I was like, well, the Camaro's like big and heavy, and my Corolla, we tried tandeming, but it didn't work. The Camaro had no angle. It was automatic. It just didn't work. And one day, an old friend was like, hey, I've got an RX-7 with Chevy small block mounts. Do you want that? And Jason was like, it looks like a Camaro. I'll get it. And so we drove like an hour to get this car because it looked like a Camaro. And we shoved his V8 out of his Nova into it, and we went to I was still doing autocross at the time, but we went to our first drift event together with two different cars, and they were like, yeah, you want a tandem? Go out and track in tandem. And we were like, wait, we can drive together at the same time on track? And my whole life changed after that. Like, that was the beginning of the end.
Nice.
For me. And I had a little 1.6 liter 4A powered Corolla, and he had a V8 powered RX-7, and somehow we made it work. Like I can still find those videos online. I got the very first tandem I ever did with him. He's chasing me. I'm in my old Corolla, and like we come around the infield, and I remember it's about time to transition, and I'd never been in tandem before, so I'm like looking out my back window, like trying to tell if I'm gonna hit him when I swing. Mm-hmm. It's funny, I can still find that video somewhere online. And so that was our introduction to tandems. Was the very first time we went to an event, both of us together with two different cars, and that it was the first event of the year up in Spokane, and that was it. Like, my life stopped at that point. Like, we did not miss another event for like 3 years after that. Him and I, every single fucking event we were there. And over the course of 3 years, we bought a little, like, a cab over diesel pickup. You know that guy in California with the Corolla that goes on the flatbed of a cab over?
Yeah.
I had one of those. Not fixed up or nothing, but I got one for like $1,000. We would hook up a trailer behind it, nice. And so we would take those two, that death trap that would do 50 miles an hour, maybe 4 fucking hours, well, 5 in that thing, to a track every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it was for like 2 years straight, 3 years, 2 or 3, I don't remember. And there were ramps, and we'd have to do this like whole convoluted, dangerous as fuck unloading process. But we were having so much fun. We loved what we were doing. And that is how Jason and I kind of learned to drive. Mm-hmm. And by the time Scott came along, we were already, we'd had, several years of experience together. We were very comfortable. There was obviously, I got a new car in the middle of there, got the 240, mm-hmm. or S13, whatever people call it. And he stuck with that same car, and that is still the same car he drives today. That's that RX-7 that looked like a Camaro is, here we are 10 years later. it's that car's pretty tired. We the one thing I think we said is, like, for even when Scott joined us, we never would make more than 400. Like, the cars could never make more than 400 horsepower.
That's reasonable, I think.
Well, and like even now looking back on it, that was too high. I think we should have set it at 300.
Really?
Yeah, I don't see. The problem is I have yet to find a facility where I didn't have sufficient power, and yeah. I think that's made made me somewhat lazy of a driver is because like I could literally fall asleep, shove it in another gear, and it'll get around the track just fine. It doesn't matter how big the tire is in the back. So there's some things I've learned. I think I should have spent another 2 or 3 years in my little Corolla. I think I would have developed better as a driver. The horsepower has definitely made me a very lazy driver, and that's not good because like you can tell, you watch video and you go, that's kind of lazy. You could have done that better. You could have pushed a little harder. But like I said, that's just some things you learn with time as you look back over the years.
No, there's obviously a lot. I wouldn't say a lot changing so much, but there's like little. I don't know how to. I don't even know what I'm trying to ask you right now, to be honest. Shit. I see a lot of drift taxi on villain stuff. Is that gonna be a thing?
Drift taxi. You're talking about Brett.
Yes, with the S15.
Yes. So Brett is he joined in 20. Oh gosh, I want to say 17. Why? Watch him listen to this and be angry at me. I'm sorry, Brett. I love you. Brett came along. I want to say a year or two after Scott. And it was more or less like we were like after the first year of us touring, like, oh my God, we were getting so much attention, and people were constantly going, hey, I want to join the team, and we were like, yeah, but no, this is for friends, kind of. Yeah. And Brett was one of those guys that he never really said he wanted to join the team. He just showed up just like Scott did at every event, and he always pitted with us. And he always was helping, and he was always driving with the group. Nobody knew nobody could put 2 and 2 together because his car didn't look like ours. So nobody was like, oh, he must be hanging out with them. He was just, I think he had a white GS or something back then. No, it wasn't a GS, it was Nissan something. I don't remember. But he was just there. He was there at every event. He was always involved, always helping. And that's kind of the thing. I think that it was not so much a decision based on his abilities or how cool his car was. It was just a decision based on the fact that he was really excited to be there with us wherever we went. And because like I said, we travel, we never do the same place twice in a year, anyways. He was just always there. He just was there. And so this off season came, and he says, hey guys, I found an S15, and we're like, whoa. And he's like, what you guys are doing with all the shiny stuff is cool. I kind of want to give it a go. And we were like, well, yeah, you've been here this whole time. You should join the team. And he's like, well, I don't know about joining the team. I just kind of wanted to make a shiny car. And and after I think he talked to the missus, and she was about it. And so, one thing led to another, and here we are. Brett is a slightly different animal. He did not find drifting early in life. Like, Brett is already well established, solid job, wife, kids, house, garage. Like, he's what you would define as an adult, or not the average drifter. Whereas the rest of us are all not married, don't own homes, credit card debt through the roof, through our eyeballs. We're kids.
Yeah.
Brett was not a kid. And
I think that's the better place to be if you're into drifting, though.
God, yes. God, oh God, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much easier.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like, you learn things over time. You kind of learn about, what it means to be an adult, what it means to be responsible, take care of people, take care of your shit. And Brett is first and foremost an adult. At the end of the day, he will make a mature decision, and we, I say I'm team captain, but we have a pretty even, group effort. And so it was kind of something where I was like, we need a little more stability. We need a little more adult kind of thought, here, because like we were kind of a group of guys that went, oh, there's an event 30 hours away. Let's go to it. Whee! Oh, there's an event in Southern California. That's like a 15-hour drive. We don't have any money, but we'll fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
Now,
Is there a selection process when you're figuring out where to go?
So it's tough because the U.S. is very large. You know how that is.
Absolutely.
Everything is fucking Narnia or some shit. It's like, well, fuck, where is this event at? It's 30. Whatever. The selection process was in the beginning was just how do I put this? In the beginning, it was just, we are going to be driving 4 hours minimum to get to an event, no matter where it is. Remember, because at the beginning we were going to that Spokane place, and so that was, that was 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. And so it kind of got to a point where it's like, well, how many other places are within 4 hours? And then the question went, well, how many other places are within 8 hours? Because the difference is kind of marginal once you're all loaded, and you put the difference is $100 in diesel.
Yeah.
And so it kind of was like, well, where do we want to go? Well, let's go everywhere. Well, we can't go everywhere. Where can we go? Well, this is cool, and that place looks cool. Okay, well, those are neat places. When should we go? Well, if we're going to spend all that time traveling, we might as well go when there's a 2-day, because I'm not going to go all that way and just get 8 hours out of it. That's kind of silly. And so it just kind of came down to anywhere we could afford to reach, in time and still get back for the day jobs, and as long as there was the time to get there, and it was far enough between other events where we could afford to do it. Because if there's an event weekend to weekend, back to back, you're not getting the car fixed and paying for that kind of a expenditure. We're all minimum wage Joes here. We're not loaded. So it was kind of a just to reach out and kind of go where you could afford to go when you could afford to do it. And the other thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is the Pacific Northwest is the best place in America to go drifting. There are 12 tracks within like 8 hours of Walla Walla. You go inland, you go to the coast, you go south, like it's crazy. This place is so amazing because people just don't freaking get it. Like there's Pat's Acres, there's Evergreen, there's ORP, there's Medford, there's Spirit Peaks, there's Spokane, there's Walla Walla, there's Penticton up in BC, there was D12 back in the day, they're not there anymore, there was Yakima, there was the Dalles, there was, did I already mention Medford? I don't know if I mentioned Medford. There's Boise Drift. Like literally, you go to the East Coast and there's 2 facilities. You go to the California, there's like 4. You go to like Oregon and Washington, and it's like you can't throw a rock and not hit a fucking racetrack. It's retarded how awesome it is up here, and it's
I think the difference ridiculous. Too with the Northwest is that a lot of those tracks are actual tracks and not skid pads or oval tracks.
There's nothing wrong with a skid pad or an oval track. No, I'm not saying
there is, but I think it promotes. I don't know. It's different.
Well, no, because like Spokane is an oval track. Penticton is an oval track. Evergreen, where they do the Seattle stop of four-wheel drift, is an oval track. Like 4 or 5 of them are oval tracks.
But per capita, I think the Northwest definitely has more than the rest of the
per capita. 1 out of 2 is, I would say 1 out of 2 is an oval, and the other is a go-kart track. There is a couple of road courses, but the problem is they are either ORP is 45 minutes from the nearest McDonald's or gas station, so that place is really out in the middle of buttfuck Egypt. Spokane is another road course it's a lot closer to a town, but the problem is, unless you make 650 horsepower, there's a lot of section of that track you can't link.
Yeah.
And so you find yourself kind of either doing Mongee's bored out of your mind or just driving to the next little section that you could play with. So that kind of isn't the best scenario. But like if you make power or you have a pair of bowling balls for testicles, you can make some fun stuff happen there. But per capita, you're probably right. There is more options up here, and I think a lot of people kind of who live here even don't understand just how fucking good they've got it, compared to a lot of other places in the world.
Yeah. So what was it? Was there you kind of grew up in drifting in that area, so these tracks well. Was there any kind of learning curve going from drifting parking lots to drifting some of those really tight, like you said, like go-kart tracks that are just so skinny?
So yes, there was a bit of a learning curve. The very first kind of track I ever drove was a big oval track, but it was huge. It was all paved. And I was sloppy. I still am sloppy. I still have bad habits that I developed from that facility because that's where I learned. And I still have a few bad habits that I learned there that I've had a hard time breaking. there was a learning curve for sure, but it doesn't take long, especially if you stay in the seat. As long as your car is not making